Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Here in another field. It's much the same as many other fields that I've stood and talked to a camera in, but it's quiet, or fairly quiet. You may just be able to see some people have just walked past and I had to stop mid-flow, so this is second take, but it's quiet and off the road, so it's all good. Now I'm going to talk about long-term care trusts, a bit of a hot topic, one that I get asked about relatively frequently. So before I do that, as ever, my friends down here in the bottom right, that's 7 Investment Management. They continue to sponsor me here on Meaningful Money. Nearly said there. Meaningful Money. Thank you, 7IM, for sponsoring me. It's much appreciated. Now, I get asked the question a lot. Can I give my house to my kids and therefore not have it taken off me if I need to go into care at some point in the future? It's a frequent question. It's understandable. You know, a good care home in this part of the world will easily cost £35,000 a year. You know, a good one in the southeast will probably cost twice that easily. So it's a big issue. You can burn through even a significantly large estate fairly quick with a few years in long-term care in your aged years. Now there's an advert, a sort of poster in the office block that my company trades in, and the advert says, "Don't lose your home and savings to care fees. You know, come and see us and we'll sort it out for you." It's not us, we don't do this. It's a trust and wills specialist who works in our office block as well. Now I took this lady to lunch because I wanted to find out how she could make that claim. And my understanding from that conversation is that the mechanism works roughly as follows. You give some assets into a trust. You become a trustee of that trust. The trust is worded such that the settlor, the person putting the money in, that's you, can benefit in some narrow ways. It's carefully worded. Perhaps if you've got a husband and wife, you can have them worded so that you can benefit each other. You don't give more than the nil rate band in. That is £325,000 per person at the moment. That's the amount you can leave without paying inheritance tax. You put more than that into a trust, particularly a discretionary trust, you've got tax issues at outset and things like that, so that's where you avoid that. It's all perfectly legally correct. That works, no problem about that at all. Now, the assessment process when you go into care, I dealt with it in depth. Episodes 122 and 123, I'll put links up here. So I dealt with them in depth there, and look back at that. I did 8 videos on long-term care actually from 120 onwards. The benefits of these sort of trusts but one of the main ones is that you can top up your care fees. So ordinarily you can understand how this wouldn't work. If you have to have local authority funding for your care, you can't, let's say, you know, they want to put you in a home for 550 quid a week or something. You can't then say, well, actually, I'll put 200 quid a week towards it and make it up that way. It just doesn't work like that. If you can afford to do that, you can probably afford to put yourself through care anyway, and the assessment would show that up. But a trust, a third party, can top up care fees. So you can put your money in a trust and have that trust top up your care fees while having the local authority make up the lion's share of it. So that's an understandable benefit. Maybe, you know, by doing that, it will slow down the erosion of your assets, and eventually they can be left to your kids and things like that. So that it works, I think, from a legal point of view. But here are my issues with it. Firstly, the lady that I was talking to was very clear about the fact that you have to avoid all mention of long-term care planning in all the paperwork surrounding these things. They have to be done for inheritance tax purposes. Now, my problem with that is that you're doing something for one reason, and yet all the paperwork surrounding it says that you're doing it for another reason. Well, that just stinks a little bit to me. That's called gaming the system. Now, maybe that's just my moral code. I wouldn't impose that on anybody else, but that just doesn't sit right. I certainly wouldn't be comfortable doing it. You know, it's easy enough for a professional to be very careful about what they do and don't put in writing. But if one day you're being assessed for long-term care, all it takes is a slip of the tongue for you to say, "Oh, we did those trusts years ago, Deirdre. Do you remember? Yes, we did them so that we wouldn't have to pay care." Oh, and you've blown it, right? So, always a bit iffy, the fact that you're saying you're doing it for one reason when you're actually doing it for another. If you put money in trust, you're giving up some element of control over your assets. You know, that would worry me. Perhaps it should worry you. You are still a trustee, so you do have some element of control, but they're not your assets anymore. So whatever it is you've put in that trust isn't yours anymore. It's only yours as trustee, and however you worded that trust is paramount. It governs what you can do with the assets. Fundamentally, if you are giving away assets to avoid paying for care, you are giving away choice. If you have wealth, you get options, right? If you give away your money, albeit into trust, things like that, and throw yourself at the mercy of the local authority, they're free to put you in whatever scabby home that they can afford to put you in and find space for you in. It might be miles away from your family. Whereas if you have your own money, you can go in the home that you want to go into. So this is something to talk over with your family. I imagine most loving children would find it infinitely preferable that their inheritance is actually used to keep you comfortable in your frail dotage. But every family is different, so talk it over with them. But just be careful with these promises that you can avoid long-term care fees. I'm really concerned about them. I think there's enough smoke and mirrors to make them a bit iffy, to say the least. So why give up your choice? If you've got wealth, you've got choice. Why give it up? Right, absolutely no idea what I'm going to talk about next, so thank you for watching this one. Leave any questions as ever on the site here. Email me, pete@meaningfulmoney.tv, or hit me up on Twitter. I'm @PeteMatthew or @meaningfulmoney. Look forward to being in touch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.